everyone! I just realised that I've been incredibly stupid and forgot to put the music that I regularly put over my videos in my most recent video, which was the Frankenstein review, and that is my favourite video that I produced to date, and also the most successful one, and I forgot to put the music in, and I hate myself. But, apart from that, I have not finished Sorcery yet. I'm about a quarter of the way through. I'm abysmally slow. But instead of doing a review of that, what I'm going to be doing is going through the highest books on my TBR as of now. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so all of the books in this list have no order, they're just books that I want to read in the near future, but there is one that I know is the one that I'm going to read when I finish Sorcery, and that is The Baptism of Fire by Andrzej Sapkowski, which is the third book in the novel part of the Witcher series. Now, I really like the Witcher series. It is, in fact, the first adult fantasy series that I've ever read, and also one of my favourite video games that I've ever played. You know, The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt is a wonderful game, and all of this just accumulates in me loving the Witcher franchise, and so I'm really excited to carry on reading the books. Now, the third season of the Netflix show is coming out soon, and while I don't think that they're going to adapt any of this in at least the first part, which comes out in June, better safe than sorry, they might do some time jumpy stuff, so I'm going to read this one once I finish Sorcery, which will be soon, and I'm really excited because this book, I believe, unless I'm wrong, because I know Siri takes up quite a lot of the books from kind of this point onwards, two of my favourite characters are together and have their own plot line, so that's exciting, and there's also so much stuff that's been left over from the last book that I'm excited to see wrapped up or see where it goes, so I'm really excited to read this book. So now we're going into the territory where I've got no particular order, but one of the books on my TBR is Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar. Now, I saw this book recommended on one of my favourite booktubers' channels, and if you've been around for a while, you know that that's Daniel Green, and it sounded really good. This is an indie book, it's self-published. Now, this book, as far as I can tell, is about two people who are on a collision course and are going to collide, and that it already sounds cool because you've got two different viewpoints, two different characters that are going to jump between and will join at some point. I believe that's where this is going. Yeah, and I also, I'm trying to write a fantasy book, and I've decided that before I get into it, I should probably read more adult fantasy than I already have, which is practically none. And this one sounds like it has quite a lot of holy warrior-y stuff and gods, which is stuff that I plan to have in the book that I'm going to write. So I thought that this book is a perfect way that I can start to familiarise myself with the ways that people present the ideas that I've got. And this has also got two people of opposing beliefs that are going to clash, which is what's happening in my book as well. So I thought, this just sounds brilliant for these ideas and for this research, I guess, that I'm doing. The next book on my TBR, of course, so no particular order, is The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. Now, this is a trilogy called the Live Ship Traders trilogy, of which I have all the books, although this is the only one that I have in this edition, and I like this edition, and so I may have to buy the rest of them in this edition, which would be really bad of me, but I don't think I'll be able to resist. A lot of this book takes place on a ship, and surprise, surprise, the book that I plan on writing takes place on a ship. It's going to be like at least quite a lot of it, a nautical fantasy, and so this is yet another great way that I'm going to be able to research how people write this stuff, and this is going to be a recurring theme throughout the video because I really want to get to writing this book as soon as possible, and so I've got a lot of stuff that I want to get through before I can do that, although these are thick books that I've got on my TBR, and I'm a slow reader, so I don't know how long this is going to take me, but I know that this is one that I really want to get to. And also in general, I've heard a lot of good things about Robin Hobb, and she's one of the big names in fantasy with things like the Farseer trilogy, which I've also got, although it's not as high on my DBR. So I'm really looking forward to getting into the realm of the Elderlings, which I think this is what the fantasy world this trilogy is in. Next up we have Weird Sisters by Terry Pratchett. Now this is the 6th book in the Discworld series, and so it makes sense I'm going to read this one once I finish Sorcery, and I probably will read this one sooner than a lot of the books on this list because I'm planning on reading Discworld books between the books that I'm reading. So there's a high chance that once I finish Baptism of Fire, if I don't get impatient, I'll probably go straight into this one. And I'm really excited because this is the point where two really beloved characters, which Nanny Ogg and Margaret Garlick, come in and complete the trio of witches that Granny Weatherwax is a part of. And this is also meant to just genuinely be a really good Discworld book, so I am very, very excited to get into this. And just a side note, this is one of the old copies where it's completely Paul Kidby's. No, it's not. Is it Paul? Okay, no, it's not Paul Kidby, it's the later ones. This is Josh Kirby, and I love his covers. And these books are smaller than normal books, so they feel really intimate reading them. I remember that when I read Reaper Man, which is the first Discworld book I ever read, a lot of the charm of the book came from the fact that it was so small. It felt like this precious little thing that I had found, and so I always like when I get to read a Discworld book in this type of edition. Another one on my TBR is Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. Now, this is the first book in the Malazan Empire series, and this is set in kind of an empire on its last legs, which, if you can't guess, is something that is also going to be in the book that I plan on writing. See, again, we've got research here that will hopefully help me gain some perspective on how to do this sort of thing, although I know that Malazan is a very long series that I'll probably want to carry on reading, and I also know that Malazan is a very hard to get into series, so this is probably going to be quite a challenge for me to read, and so it's not as high on my TBR as the other stuff here, but it is one that I want to get to eventually, because this sounds really cool, and it's also one of the most well-respected fantasy series out there, so I want to well-verse myself in this genre that I love. I've got loads of books that I went on a bit of a rampage. I've got like The First Law, I've got more Game of Thrones books, I've got so many fantasy books that I want to read and not enough time, but this is definitely up there for the reason that it's going to be good as research. Now, the final two books are by the same author, but the first one of these two books is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now, Brandon Sanderson is one of my favourite authors out there, and I haven't even read a single book of his, but he is so active with his community and seems to be quite a nice guy that I want to start reading his stuff really soon, because he sounds, I like him as a person, so I want to read his stuff, and he is so famous right now that I want to get on the bandwagon. I want to get in the Sanderson bandwagon. And The Way of Kings is the first book in his epic fantasy series, which is the Stormlight Archive, which apparently takes place in a universe kind of like the MCU, which is also really exciting. But I mean, I think this cover speaks for itself. This is a beautiful looking book, and it is a very thick book. It's got over 1,000 pages, I believe. But I won't let that scare me. I love how this book looks, and it's meant to have really good world building as well, which is going to be good for research. But I also just want to get into Sanderson, and this seems like a really exciting thing to get into. You know, go with his best and just get to see what the fuss is all about. And the other book by Brando Sando, that's just really high on my, I think I just said Thatch, which is really high on my TBR, is Tris at the Emerald Sea, which is I think it's his most recently published book. And I mean, this is a beautiful cover, so that's helping it be so high on my TBR. But this is a standalone in the wider Stormlight universe, and it was also meant to be really comfy, cozy, and just well done, but also a standalone. And since I've got so many series on this list that I'm going to be dedicating myself to, like The Way of Kings is the start of what I believe is going to be a 10-book series, and they all have over 1,000 pages each. So it's going to be a heavy going, and so this is if I want to get into Brando Sando before I'm ready to read Way of Kings, and I've got this as a backup. And this also sounds like a wonderful book, and the idea, I believe, that the sea in this book is like acidic or something, and so you die if you fall in it, which is such a unique idea that I'd love to read this. And it's also nautical, so you've got that element, but I don't really want to read this as much of a research thing. It's just that I think I'll enjoy this sort of thing, and it's also really pretty. I just forgot that there's one more book on my TBR, and I nearly closed off without talking about it, so give me a second. So the final book on my TBR is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Now, this is another research book, but also look at how pretty it is. This is about, I think, from the sounds of it, it's about another dwindling empire, but it's also got a country struggling in the wake of all the technological advancements that have been made by the previous ruler, which is a thing that is happening in my book as well. So I thought, wow, this sounds perfect for what I want to figure out, the research I'm doing. So yeah, this is also on my TBR, and it's such a pretty book, and on the back the other covers look just as nice, so I am biased. If a book looks really nice, then I immediately want to read it. just a little more. So Grace of Kings is also really high up, but also part of this series, and I know I'm screwing myself over because I'm going to be committed to all these things and it's going to backfire, but I just want to get into all this stuff. Okay, so those are all the books on my TBR at the moment. If you have anything to say about the books I've spoken about, or have any recommendations based on the stuff that I've described, then I'd love to hear it, because even though I've got my hands full, I want to read as much as possible and familiarise myself with as much as possible. So if you've got anything to contribute, I'd love to hear it. Now hopefully I remembered to edit the music into this video, and I will see you all next time where hopefully I'm reviewing sorcery. So I'll see you then, thank you for watching, and until then, have a good one. Bye.